Alright, so welcome back here. We're taking a break from the Mortal Kombat stuff for a minute, and we're going back to our Arcade Monitor Chassis Repairathon series. Part 1 and Part 2 were a K7000. This one's actually, I got labeled as number 5 because it's the fifth one I took out of the box of 7. But it's also a K7000, so I figured I'd knock out all 3 K7000s out of the bunch of 7 first. So even though it says number 5, this is actually video number 3 in the series. And then I think up next will be a U5000. Then I have a Cortec Imperial monitor and a Sharp, I think it's a KTN, and then I have a Henerex MTC 9000. Those are missing remote boards. This one's also missing a remote board, but I actually have one I can use for testing. But the other ones I think are missing remote boards, so the U5000 I have a remote board for as well, so I can test that one. But when it comes to the Imperial, the MTC 9000 and the, what's the other one, the Sharp KTN, those are all missing the remote boards, so I don't know if I'll be able to test them. Those are going to be on hold until I can get a hold of some remote boards or figure out what to do with those. So video number 3 here in the series will be the third K7000, and video number 4 in the series will be a U5000. The other 3 will have to wait until I can find the remote boards. So anyway, yeah, we got another 25-inch K7000. And it's intact and complete, but I honestly just took it up out of the box and set it here and started the video, so I haven't looked over it really yet. It looks like some caps have been replaced. Maybe this one is completely original. You can still see the glue on, the factory glue on it, right there. However, this one's been replaced here, so this one is original as well. So I don't think really any of the caps have been changed except maybe this one here. So let's give it a good look over. I don't see anything missing. There's no busted off pins from the remote harness. Nothing is out of the ordinary on the top side. The linearity coil appears to be in good shape. The fuse doesn't appear to be visually bad, but we'll test it. The flyback, of course, is cracked. You can see right there, like they all are, crackola. And along the side here, I think maybe this cracked and it was arcing to the frame, because there's an ID on this one that says playing blind. So I imagine this is bad, and I assume our HOT is going to be shot, and I assume maybe our voltage regulator, maybe our C38, who knows. But let's take a look at the back side. Yep, all the factory mods, factory mod, factory mod, factory mod. This here is a factory mod. Seems to all be, this one doesn't look familiar, but I'm sure it's fine. The normal area here that burns up is nice and burned up, very common. Nothing too bad, but some very oxidized pads, which we'll take a look at here. You'll focus, come on, you can do it. Nope, maybe not. There we go. Oh, you bastard. There, so let's get my tweezers here. So you can see here, this one's very oxidized from heat. It will need to be reflowed. There we go, that one. This one as well, this one. All these pads in this area will all need to be reflowed. You can see that this here is lifted. Yeah, you can see right there, that one's lifted off of there. It looks like this one is maybe a little bit, no. Yeah. This one, look at that. that one's lifted. This one here is lifted. Yeah, there you go. So very common things like that to look at. So okay, let's back up a bit here. Back up off a bit and set my cup down. All right. Otherwise, it looks okay. Nothing scorched or zapped or no holes in it. So I'll take care of all this, you know, when the time comes. But let's go ahead and test all of our components like we normally do. Okay. first we'll check our fuse. And for all intents and purposes, I'm going to put, well, I guess we'll just leave it in frame here. I'll try and leave it in frame. But you can see, first thing you always want to do is check your meter, make sure it's working. It's on the continuity mode. So that's good. Let's test our fuse. Fuse is good, but I always like to pull it out and clean off the ends a little bit if I can. It also is a good way to test to make sure that the ends aren't broken. And then we'll snap it back in to make a good new contact on it. Alright. Still good. Okay, so let's go over to diode checker. We'll check all of our diodes in the power circuit. And D19 is good. D20, D21, D22, D24, D22, I'm sorry, D23, D23. Alright, so all 6 of those are good. Let's test our diodes that are over here by the flyback. There's some diodes in there. I believe it's D13 and D14. And D13 has the stripe on this side, so it's these 2 pads here. Oh, there you go. Oh, I'm sorry. I was on this pad. Sorry. Always important to double check. So that's good there. That's definitely good. And the other diode is D13, which should flip the leads around, I believe. Well, that's shorted. Am I? Oh no, I'm sorry. That's not looking too good here. Sorry. Yes, it's these pads here. It's these 2 pads. Is 1 diode, and that's good. This one's a low reading, but that's good. And then these 2 pads here are the other one. You see it's climbing up higher because I have my leads on the wrong way. If I turn it around, the negative lead should be this way. The stripe is this way on the diode. So we go back to our pads here. I did it again. I'm touching this one here. There we go. And there you have it. You can see how easy it is to do that because I'm trying to touch this pad here with this one. You'll hear the beep, but I'm actually touching this one by mistake. It's the same trace, so sorry about that. Anyway, so let's keep going here, and we'll test our HOT. HOT is good. Quite interesting. Okay. Let's test our critical safety cap. Should read like a diode. And if you test this and it's shorted, your HOT is almost always guaranteed to be shorted as well. But since our HOT is good, we can test this. This should always really read good. If this is good, this should read good, and vice versa. But it's always something you want to test still. So that's good. And we'll go. This is the same trace, so we don't need to move our negative. We'll go to the other leg, and that's good as well. So our critical safety cap C36 is good. C38, we're just checking to make sure it's not shorted. C38 are these 2 pads here. C38 is shorted. So that's probably our main problem right there. Our let me zoom in and you can see it's quite common. If I can get this in shot there. So this lead here and this lead here are our 2 pins for our C38, and that is dead short. If we go to ohms, go back to here, 0.0 ohms. C38 is shot. So let's go back to our voltage regulator now, if I can get that in frame. And voltage regulator on this type, the STR3130, you're going to want to go to pins 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, negative lead on 3, positive on 4. We should read it like a diode, which we do. However, it's low because we're reading through the B+ resistor over here. If we were to go to ohms and go to our B+ resistor, it should read around 180 ohms. If I get a good connection here, there we go. Yep, 177. Oh, I'm not even on frame. There we go. Sorry. 177. So if our voltage regulator was shorted and we touch our B plus resistor, it would read 0.0. So our voltage regulator is good, our HOT is good, our critical safety cap, which again is these two guys in here, C36 and C69, I believe. HOT, critical safety caps, voltage regulator, diodes, and the power circuit. We can check R103. R103 is this guy here. It should read about 3 ohms, 2.7, 2.6, so we know that's good. I'm surprised that the fuse didn't blow with C38 being shorted. D18 is another item you want to check. D18 is this guy, this diode down in here in front of C38. This guy right in there. And the negatives is this side, so which in turn makes it go to this side. So then we can go here to our diode, which are these 2 points. This point here and this point should be, yeah, that's good. So D18 is good. Well, it's looking like our critical safe, our width cap, C38, is our main culprit. So let's take it out of circuit and test it out of circuit. We'll simply heat up one side. What is your major malfunction? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I'm not doing too well today. Let's go back to our continuity, and it's actually, I showed you these 2 pins here. These 2. It's actually these 2. These 2 pins here. So let's see what happens if I do those 2 pins. It's this one and this one. It's open. That's reading 2 ohms because that's a resistor. That's this resistor here, which should be 2 ohms in circuit, if I'm not mistaken, because it's going across the linearity coil. That's why it's 2 ohms. So, nope, our C38 is good too. Go back to our reading here. C38 is this pad and this pad, and that is good. Not shorted. That's a 15K, it's probably K ohm, isn't it? Meg ohm, yeah, that's a good reading. 15 or 1.5 meg ohm is usually a general good reading. Yeah. Well, let's back up there. Sorry about that, I made a mistake. First mistake I've ever made. Sorry. Well, that's interesting. So let's back up here. So let's review. It may just be the flyback that's bad. We got a good R103, good diodes in the power circuit. We can check our ceramic resistors. R104 is 15 ohms and 3.9, 3.8, yeah. So those are good. This is about 5 k ohm, I believe. 6.5, yeah, it's close enough. Sometimes it's 4.4, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 6.5, it depends. So those are readings that you can normally see on those. On this one over here, that's normal, about 260 is what it usually is. Huh, well, it looks like I don't have any bad components, which is probably why the fuse didn't blow. The only thing left would be the flyback, so let's go ahead and replace the flyback and do all of our reflow and cleanup and testing on this again. And I guess we've already tested it, I'm sorry. Let's do all of our cleanup and repair work and replace the flyback. And I will go ahead, out of curiosity's sake, I'm going to go ahead and after that we'll power it up, see if it works, see what kind of condition it's in, and then after that we'll do our cap kit. I also have a filter cap. I always change a filter cap too. So let's get all this cleaned up and repaired and change the flyback out and get it hooked up and see what we get. So I guess what I can do is I'm not going to do I'm not going to do the cap kit on camera, but what I can do is I'll try and do the repair here on camera. Let's go ahead and get our desoldering gun fired up. Alright, And let's zoom in here a bit. Okay, so all of these points here are bad. If you look here, this stupid camera is a piece of junk. All right, there we go. Can I get closer? All right. So you see here how oxidized this is compared to this. I'm upside down on the camera, sorry. This is kind of nice and shiny and looking decent, and these are very oxidized and dull. So all of these here are very oxidized and dull compared to the shiny one here. And I don't know if I can get any closer. It won't focus up any closer than that. But you get the general idea. So the best way to do this is to remove all this solder. You don't want to add to this. You want to remove all this solder and then add new solder onto it. And then we'll try and fix things like this. If I show you that, see that? We can fix that very easily, and I'll show you how to do that. So there was this one that was lifted. This one here that was lifted. Right there is lifted. This one's lifted. I think those are the only lifted pads on here. But let's do some tutorial here. Let's still waiting here. Another swig. "23 unique flavors." A little cleaning. Okay. So let's try and get this on the frame here. We will remove this original oxidized solder. Oh, come on, man. That's about as good as it's going to let me get here. Somebody was kind enough to bend these tabs over. There we go. Oh, sorry, I drift off camera here because I'm so zoomed in that I don't even notice till it's too late. There we go. That'll work. Now what I'm going to do is get fiberglass pin out. This is really the best way, in my opinion, to do this. We get our fiberglass pin out and we just clean all this off of here. There you go. See, these pads lifted too from, they were so heat damaged. They were so heat damaged when I used the desoldering gun, it lifted them up. But now you can see we have a nice shiny surface there with the, I don't know if I can show you with the copper. There you go. See, the copper trace is exposed here in the middle. So we can just solder all this together again and make a nice solid joint. Oh, my solder is out in my tool bag in the truck. Give me one moment here. Stand by. Alright, so here we go. Alright. And with lifted pads, I like to use my tweezers here to kind of hold it down. And then if it needs it, put a little bit more on there. There we go. Repeat that process over here. Oh, son of a fuck. Oh, shit. No big deal. Not the end of the world. Just a happy accident. So that should work. You gonna cool down first? And let's just examine it here. Yeah, let's do this a bit. I think that'll work. Okay. It doesn't look too well now because that's better. Okay. It doesn't look too well now because there's still flux all over it and everything, but yeah, that's much better than it was. And again, you got issues like all the rest of these are the same way. This is barely hanging on here. So we'll keep moving on. Where else do we need to go? Let's go here. And here. Sometimes you need to get the iron out and heat up the tab. And then bring the gun in just like that. Okay. We got about one more here. Yeah, that trace was gone. Okay. Okay. So. So you want a nice shiny dome on all these, so that's a lot better. All right. So for instances like this where half of the trace is gone, or half the trace got burned away, let's go ahead and do these. Just get them kind of locked in place here, and then we'll get the fiberglass pen out and we'll fix them nice and good here. right. Okay, I think that's probably okay for now. So let's get for these ones that had the broken pads, like, well, I missed one here. There's not much we can do about these except just solder them together and take my tweezers and hold the pad down. That's about all we're going to be able to do with those. Alright. But for these over here, for this one here that was lifted, that one right, this one here that was lifted, come on camera, there you go. For this one right here that was lifted, we can, oh no, sorry, it's right here. This one here that was lifted. I'm trying to do this through the viewfinder and down here on person, and I get crossed over, so right there, that one. What we can do is get the fiberglass pin and do the same thing with the trace here. And then you can see how the trace is now exposed. And then we can just solder right to it. And that will make it much more sturdy. Just like that. Perfect. Now it won't go anywhere. And we kind of repeat that same process with any other one that's lifted, which I want to do on this one. Bada boom. So there's that. Let me take a look again here. Let's do, I want to do this one here too, because this is a known hot spot here. There we go. Just like that. Alright. Let's take another look here. And I think that will just about do it. Yeah, that seems okay. Any other joints that might need reflowed? All the video header pins look good. That's a normal common problem. Yeah, everything else looks pretty good. Voltage regulator pins. Alright, I think that'll cover that. So, that being said, let me replace the flyback. And I'll go ahead and toss in the new filter cap just because I can and I want to. And then I'll do the cap kit later. I want to change the flyback and the filter cap and then power it up and see what it looks like with the original caps installed, because I think this whole playing blind thing was because of this cracked flyback arcing to the frame, and it just wasn't. I can't believe it wouldn't have taken another component out, but literally everything checked good. Everything that would normally cause this to play blind, it was good. I had a good HOT and 69 and 36 and 38 and voltage regulator and fuse and diodes and ceramic caps and B plus resistor and D13, D14, everything checked good, R103. So with the new flyback and a filter cap, there's no reason that I can see electrically why this wouldn't why it wouldn't power on at least. So let's get that stuff changed and see where we're at here. And of course it could have been any of this bad solder too, so. See how good this desoldering gun works? Let's get rid of that. You don't want that there. I mean, the holes are open. It's just one little press of the button and the solder's gone. So if you don't have, I'll showcase what this is. I mean, it's a Annesty Zulu Delta -915. Annesty, ANESTY ZD-915. Get yourself one of these and never look back. So. I may need to use the regular iron on some of these. Work it around until it heats up. There it goes. Perfect. And we'll have to use the iron on the ones with the ground plane because they just simply, it's too much for the iron to heat, or for the gun to heat up. So we heat it up with the iron. And it takes it right up. Just that easy. And before we put it away, we always clean it. It comes with these little pipe cleaner type of deals that go in here, and I always just clean this out before I put it away, because like I said before, if you get a lump of solder in here and you go to set it down in the holder and it gets into it flows into a crack or crevice that isn't as hot as the rest of it, you'll never get it out, and it just creates nightmares. So I actually often like to just leave the filter, or I'm sorry, the cleaner in here and then put it in the holder. That ensures that that won't happen on you. So now, actually I need to take this screw out. And this should come right out. Just like that. Looks like somebody already busted this. Normally you have to take this screw loose and kind of bend the frame up, this heat sink, but someone had already busted this plastic part. But you can see how easily this came out. That desoldering gun is really nice. So next step would be to cut this, our G2 wire, and set this aside, and then we will take our focus wire off. There we go. Remove the cap, and there we go. Flyback is out. In the garbage it goes. Brand new flyback. First thing to do is take these tabs here and break them right off, because you won't get them to line up and you'll be knocking your head against the wall trying to line up pins and get it to fit in. when all the time it was those stupid tabs. So this should fit right in here. Easiest flyback install in history. Right in. So let's zoom in and get some solder flow in here. Now you don't need to go overboard on this solder. You just want enough to cover the pad and give yourself a nice shiny dome on here, and that's about all you need. So you can see how these all look. There's of course flux everywhere, which I'll clean all the flux off when I'm completely totally done is the last step. But you can see the nice shiny dome on all these. That's what you want. You don't need to go overboard. Just enough to cover the pad and fill up the cup and give you a nice shiny dome is all you want. Kind of like my head. Nice shiny dome. And you want to leave the iron on there for a couple seconds to let heat up and let the solder flow, but there you go. That's a good example of what it should look like when you're done. So now that that's complete, let's get our focus wire installed. Focus wire is always the thicker wire. You got two wires here, a thick one and a skinny one. The thick one's always going to be your focus wire, so disregard where it's coming out. You know, your old one may have come out the bottom, new one comes out the top. Don't worry about that. The thicker wire is always the focus wire, which goes to your focus on the neck, which is, you know, this one here. And the skinny wire is always your G2 wire, which goes to the post. It's not always labeled G2. On this one's labeled Victor. It's got a V on there. But so let's get our focus wire soldered in. Oh, herpaderp. Forgot to put my cap on here. There we go. Not the first time, won't be the last time. Okay, focus wires installed. We'll get our cap on here. All right. Now for the G2 wire. Where'd that go? Here it is. Let's strip our end off here. And what? Let's get our heat shrink out. Cut this in half here and trim this down a bit. Let's get our heat shrink over this. We'll use a little flux on here to tin the wire. Perfect. And then we'll solder it to this wire here. Perfect. And then we'll get our initial. I always use 2 on here. As a matter of fact, hang on one moment. We got our, let me turn my fan off. We got our BIC 1000. We'll use that as our heating gun here to melt that down. Then I'll put the other one over the top of it. I always like to double these things up. And we'll heat that down. And there you go. Hook our G2 wire back up. And while we're here, we'll go ahead and strip our ground. Someone was kind enough to just cut this. There we go. Our neck, or a dag ground there. So, alright, so now we've got, I believe, except for the filter cap here, let's change that out. We got our new flyback on, it's installed. We got all of our heat damaged area repaired, all of our components checked good. The flybacks always ship when they're with them completely turned down, so we'll turn this up just slightly. Okay, yeah, I think except for the filter cap, we're ready to. I gotta grab the remote board, of course, off of a spare. Actually, you know, if I look here, I may have one already. I've actually got a whole bunch of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a complete one. Any broken pots? Nope. Looks okay. I believe I'll use this one. There you go. Hot diggity. So we'll turn, and preemptively we'll turn our contrast and brightness completely down. And we'll give this another good inspection here. I don't see any pots broken, so that's good. I gotta remember to not leave this on here because this is mine. So we'll plug this in. Okay, now, only thing left is our filter cap. So our neck board here, you can see that the resistors, it appears that the resistors got real hot, but that's not the case. The coating is just flaking off. See, I can flake this coating off here as I scratch on it. So the resistors are actually probably okay. They don't look like they got too hot. The board's not too badly burned. I think it's just an issue where the coating on the outside is very, yeah, see, I'm scraping it off of there. I think this is actually okay, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. But we'll also preemptively set all of our color pots in the center, which is always a good idea here. Let's put them all in the middle. Yep, right there. Sorry. Okay. I always do that to give me a good baseline of what it looks like, because we can adjust from that point. So, and again, we're not going to be testing, this chassis is not going to be staying on the tube I'm testing it on, so it's I always do this anyway, so it doesn't matter. Alright, so let's think about this again here before we do this. This is all repaired. I don't think I created any bridges. Everything was good. All of our parts were good for power. No reason why it wouldn't turn on. Got the new flyback installed. It's all hooked up correctly to the neck board. G2 wire, focus wire. We got our remote board hooked up. There's no broken wires off the pins on the chassis here for the remote connection. I like to normally sometimes take this and put a zip tie right there, so as I'm turning this over and back and forth, we don't get, it acts as a strain relief so these don't break off. It's a good idea to do that. When I do the cap kit, I'm going to do that. So, yep, we should be ready. Let's do the filter cap, and then I'll have to cut away and go grab my tube and get all that hooked up, and we'll see how it goes. So obviously, I've got this giant ground plane here. This giant ground plane. Someone's already changed the filter cap. It looks like this is where it used to be, this one and this one, but maybe not. But there's a giant ground plane here that I'm not going to be able to get the the desoldering gun to heat up this enough to release it. So this is where you have to use the regular iron here. Okay. You got to use the regular iron to heat the pad up. Then you can use your gun here. It's just easier that way most of the time. And she's out. Now if this works and has a decent picture, I'm still going to do the cap kit, but I'm just curious to see if it at least powers up and works, because you know the tag said, you know, playing blind. So with all the rework on the hot air, with all the rework on the hot section and the replacement of the flyback and the checking of all the normal bad parts that would cause it to not turn on, I'm confident that it's going to fire up. I just want to test that. If it fires up and I got a decent picture and it's working somewhat well, I will go ahead and do the cap kit, and then I'll show how it turned out afterward, make some final adjustments, and we'll call it good. So let's put our new filter cap in. We'll go ahead and just toss that one in the garbage. You can see positive is labeled right there quite clearly. Negative is here, and even if that wasn't labeled, you can see the negative trace is on this side. So we always put it in properly. Double check before you do all that kind of stuff. It sits in there nice and easy. Let's solder it in. All right. I'm gonna turn my fan back on. Okay, that's good. Now because I'm OCD, I'm gonna fill these up here. Alright, that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to cut away here, go grab my test tube, if you can call it that, and we'll hook it up and see what happens. Okay. Stand by. Okay, so we're all set up here. Got the tube ready. I got the chassis installed. It's just sitting here, not secured, but it should be okay. We've got, count to 5, we got our anode hooked up. We got our neck board installed. We got our DAG ground hooked up, which is there on with the wire nut. We have our yoke hooked up, which obviously you can see in there the yoke wires are hooked up, and our video signal. So we are ready to go. I have not turned it on yet, so let me put the camera on the tripod. We got our flyback turned up slightly, brightness contrast turned all the way down. So we can do our procedure of turning the flyback up until we get the raster lines, and back down until the raster lines just go away. Then we'll supplement with brightness and contrast. So let's get this hooked up here. Alright, fingers crossed. Oh, you know what? I need a board to plug in. I don't have a board. Let's just use our test pattern generator. I normally use a PCB on the test rig here, but I put them all away. So let's plug in our test pattern generator. We'll turn it on. Now let's see what happens here. 1, 2, 3. Powered up. I don't see any smoke. So let's turn up our flyback. We'll focus it here. That looks good. So there's our raster lines, as you can see. So now we turn it down until the raster lines just go away. Right about there. And now we can supplement our image with brightness and contrast. And our white balance is roughly, or right about there for our brightness setting. H position, roughly there. Vertical size, vertical position. There we go. I'd say that's good. from the looks of it, it doesn't even need caps. I'm still going to cap it because that's what's sent to me to do a full repair on. So we're going to go ahead and still cap it, but that looks pretty good. Let's scroll through our, yeah, that's not bad. Linearity seems good. Nothing squished on one side or the other. We got a full image. Color bars. Red, green, blue. Convergence. Convergence looks spot on. Yeah, I'd say we're good. So, yeah, obviously it was marked as plain blind. You saw that. And I'm fairly confident that it was just a bad flyback. So, and as you can see, yeah, it fired right up. So let's get the cap kit installed. We'll give it one more test. I'll get a PCB hooked up so we can get an actual image to see what it looks like when the game's running. So I'll get the cap kit installed and I'll cut right back and we'll get it retested and see how it turns out. Okay, just like that, full cap kit installed. Everything went in just smooth. All of the original caps are right there except for the filter cap, which I already threw away. And it's ready to go. I always go through here and mark each cap so myself and future people who work on this maybe will know that the caps have already been replaced and they shouldn't have to worry about that. And I got all the flux cleaned off and everything's wiped down, ready to go. So let's get it back on the tube and we'll see if it looks any better or worse, and assuming it works, we'll call it good. So stand by one moment. So we're all hooked back up. I got all my color pots still centered. They were centered, of course, when I was using the test pattern generator, so we'll see how it looks with an actual PCB. I have NBA Jam Tournament Edition here on the rig. So let's fire it up and fingers crossed nothing blows up this time. Hopefully I did everything right, no caps in backwards. So let's see. That's my trash can for my cap kit legs and remnants and other crap, so obviously. Alright. So let's see. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Well, powered up. That's good. Now it's going to be dimmer because the test pattern generator runs at a higher... yeah, see, look how much more... It's way too red. If I zoom in here, you can see how red it is. Yeah, so that's why I like to use an actual PCB when making the adjustments, because... Oh, wait a minute, I'm missing a color here. There we go. I was missing blue. I got a bad connection on my... There we go. That's much better. I got a bad connection on my connector, but anyway. So, yeah, I mean, the test pattern generator looked great, but with the real board it looks dull and it's not as bright. So I always like to use a regular board when I can. So let's adjust some settings here. Let's do H position. Roughly, there's not too bad. It's a bit wide, but not too bad. Let's do contrast and brightness down. Screen pot up to roughly there. Black level, oh, contrast. Hey, looking much better there. Nice. Vertical size. Yeah, it's a bit too wide. Let me adjust our width here. If I'm able to... And right before your eyes, you can see the... Let's put it quite in here. Right before your eyes, you can see the width shrinking down, so that's good. And you always want to get yourself one of these plastic adjustment tools for your H-coil. But there we go, guys. That looks pretty good. Let's adjust our focus a bit more here. Right about there is about as good as it's going to get. So there you have it. Another one fixed. So I'll let it run for a couple hours, do a burn-in, make sure it doesn't explode, which is somewhat common with the older new flybacks, but the ones I get from Peter at Arcade Parts and Repair have always been reliable. I've never had one blow up on me. But yeah, there we go. Success. So that's the first 3 K7000s, the first 3 chassis of this 7-part repair series up and running. So thanks for watching and hope you learned something, and stay tuned for part 4, which will be the U5000.